Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the Desert Vibe. Yet another week, yet another podcast. Things are going well. By the way, we have close to 200 followers now on the Facebook page, which is great. So thank you guys. I'm Glen Gardner,
I'm Walt Richardson.
I'm Jamie Ray.
and this here is the Desert Vibe. And we cover all kinds of music related activity happening across the state of Arizona. And we have a guest every week. And we were feeling extremely lazy this particular week. And I think it was Jamie Ray who said, why don't you be the guest, Glenn? Because
I
you're
have
already
questions.
here. I don't have to call anybody. You can basically, do nothing. And so should I introduce myself? This is
No,
very awkward,
no, no,
weird, because
no. I want.
I see myself there on your screen, Jamie Ray, and I noticed Walter does not have my picture up
I'm disappointed in Walter for
behind him
that.
unless
I'm
I'm seeing
happy.
someone playing a guitar there, but they look like they might have darker skin than me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be right about that. It's a little melanated up there.
Yeah. Just so anyway.
I'm going to thank everybody for coming to the Desert Vibe this week. We want to introduce Glen Gardner. He's one of the founders and co-host of the Desert Vibe, and I have a lot of questions. It's just been a pleasure working with you and Walt, but we already interviewed Walt. And I want to know personally, I'm going to get right to it,
Mm,
because you're someone who's been a true voice and a heartbeat to Arizona's music scene. And for years, your on air presence, your endless support of the local talent, and your cornerstone of Arizona's creative community. It's just, I want to get into what's driving your journey, your passion, your music, on and off stage. So, since you've been such a recognizable voice and presence in Arizona music community for years, Glenn, how did your journey begin in music and radio? Like, when did you first know that's what you wanted to do?
well, I mean, if you want to go all the way back,
I do.
I was born in a hospital. I wanted to be near my mother. And from there, they swaddling, I think they call it. I had swaddling, and they took me home in my dad's '57 Dodge, and he had the radio on, and I was 2 days old, and I realized at that point that at 2 days old that was going to be my destiny.
That's the
I
best.
was going to be
Show.
coming out of that dashboard, baby, one way or the other.
Is this a real show?
Honest to God truth.
So what
I
happened
believe
on the
it.
third? What happened on the third day?
I became disappointed and disillusioned.
Reality set in on day
I
three.
said, screw it, I'm going to end up dropping fries at McDonald's. Fries are up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was day
That was
three.
good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's been a journey.
I'd
But
say.
I mean, seriously, I really did know at a young age. I was fascinated by music and fascinated because it's weird though, because my dad, who was kind of the musical driver in the house, had horrible taste. I mean, he was a big fan of John Philip Sousa. So there'd be like sousaphone records and whatnot, and you know, and his other huge passion. Oh, this was a little better. Was Harry Belafonte,
Oh,
and that Deo song. All I can is Deo, Deo, daylight come and me one go home. Six bunch, seven bunch, eight bunch. That daylight coming. So but there was a lot of music in the house, which was good, and the radio fascinated me. And my dad was actually in the car business. He was a car salesman. Initially, he was a clothing guy. Our family was involved in clothing stores, like small family men's shop. They got passed from my great grandfather to my grandfather to my father, and then all the places like Macy's came in and big part, and it just wasn't viable anymore. And he went into the car business. And in the car business, he spent a lot of money at radio stations. And I was the kid that had the earphone in and was always listening to music. We didn't have headphones back then. We had one little white earphone hooked up to an AM radio, and I was always listening. So I was about 14 years old, and he said, I know you're interested in radio, and I spend a lot of money at these radio stations. What if I ask the general manager at the local radio station? This is outside of Boston, where I grew up. If he's got a position for someone who wants to go get coffee or a gopher. And I said, yeah, that sounds really cool. So that happened, and there was this group of radio stations that had a big AM radio station, because that's what there was then, and this whole new thing called FM was just literally starting. So this is like 1972, and just starting. So I walk in there, and I could tell right away that the general manager of the radio station was not thrilled, that he was kind of coerced into having this kid, be there. So he said, "Oh, you're Murray's kid?" And then he said, "Call the program director over." So the program director comes over, and the general manager says to him, "Whatever you do, don't put this," there was a word, "kid," on the AM radio station. Put him on the FM where nobody's listening.
Well,
And that's kind of how it all started. And honestly, I was like 14 or something. I walked into the studio, and FM radio back then was extremely loose, because nobody cared. Nobody had a receiver. So it was like, you're putting it out there into the vapor. And I walked in there, and there were two guys with long hair, and they're on the morning, and they're smoking a joint on the air. And it was at that moment I said, if I could just figure out a way to have somebody pay me for doing this, this would probably be an okay thing to do. And then from there, it was just, the station actually is interesting, became massive. It became one of the banner early progressive rock stations in the country. And because it sat in central Massachusetts with a 50,000 watt signal, which is the most you can have east of the Mississippi, it hit like 5 major markets. It hit Boston, it hit Worcester, Massachusetts, Hartford, Connecticut, Manchester, New Hampshire, Providence, Rhode Island. It just had this massive reach, and just really through one of those things about luck and being in the right place at the right time. As the whole thing was growing, I learned from some of the absolute best people who were in the industry, and went on to do some pretty spectacular things. So I always knew that I wanted to be in that, and then simultaneously I was always in a band.
cool.
Usually a bad band, but a band.
No, I'm not going to touch that one, but so, let me ask you this. You've obviously seen the music scene evolve over time in many formats, in many places. So in Arizona, what's the biggest change you've noticed in the way local artists connect with the audiences today?
Well, there's always a dichotomy that goes on, and technology and progress happen pretty much geometrically. That if you look at the expanse of human history, 300,000 years or whatever, let's say at 100,000 years we learned how to deal with fire, and then from there it took another maybe 100,000 years till someone said, "Hey, this wheel thing, that's a good idea, 'cause my back has been killing me. And I'm thinking this whole wheel thing can really make things better." And that took 50,000 years. Well, now the level of change of what used to take 50,000 years takes a second or 2 seconds. It's evolving at that level. So what does that mean, for artists, for musicians? back when I was doing that radio thing, let's say in 1972, you needed that route to connect with the audience en masse. You go do a show, get on a stage and do a show, but that's going to be 100 people, 200 people, even 1,000 people, whatever. But once you got on the radio, you were talking about a mass medium, mass, just really mass stuff. And the difference now, I think, is that has really been bypassed to some extent. And you can connect directly with people via platforms like this very thing that we're doing here. You used to have a $5 million television studio to do what we're doing now, and now you can do it with a $100 subscription to Zoom and a $250 laptop.
Yeah.
And that's so the good of it is you can do that. The bad of it is there's very little common community experience now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think an advantage perhaps that we all had, the three of us here when we were growing up, was when a new Beatles album came out, let's say, everybody got it at the same time. Everybody talked about it. It was huge. It's what we focused on. It's what the quote-unquote community focused on. Ed Sullivan was on Sunday nights. We didn't have 150 choices. We had 3. And if you want to count classroom TV, there were 4. But because it wasn't PBS, it was literally some boring dude standing there saying 4 + 4 = 8, and some people watched it. But there was, and then the next day everybody would talk about, did you see Sullivan last night? Hermit's are on there, or James Brown was on there, or ba 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 ba. Big communal experiences. When men landed on the moon, we all watched it together. When Kennedy got shot, we all experienced it together. We don't have that anymore. Everybody's in their own little niche corner. And I guess there's some, like with anything, there's some good to that and there's some bad to that. I kind of miss that communal common experience because I think it brought us all together. And people talk about how we're so divided, and I think one of the reasons we're so divided is because we have far fewer communal experiences. So
Everybody's in their own little bubble of what they do.
it's not that it's good or it's bad, it's just different.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's bad.
Is it bad, Glenn?
I think it's bad.
So let me just ask you one more thing. When I originally met you, I didn't know you were an artist when I first met you. You were emceeing and you were hosting open mic at the Chill Room. I think that's one of the first pictures that we had together. And I was bothering you there, like I do.
Figure.
Did
I have my fly swatter with me?
No, not that night. I think you had a whip.
Yeah, even better.
But when you're hosting and emceeing a show, what do you think makes, I know what does for you because I've watched you several times and I love going to anything you're emceeing. That's why I want you emceeing our show, February 7th. But what do you feel and what do you do that makes a great connection between the artist and the crowd? Like you get everybody involved and keep them interested. What do you think is the best way to do that?
Well, first off, I think paying attention to them is certainly a great place to start. If you're going to host anything, whether it's a radio show, a podcast, an open mic, or whatever, your job is, in effect, is to entertain at some level. Mm-hmm. And one of those consultants early on, and this guy actually went on to invent XM radio. His name is Lee Abrams. He was a genius programmer, and he said to me something that I thought was really, really interesting. And I was, really young at the time, but it had an impression. He said, comedy wins. He said, comedy wins every time. And he said, if you think about it, I can't remember what program he used. Might have been I Love Lucy. He said, 20 years after the fact, every day I can still watch I Love Lucy.
Yeah, it's true.
But he said, pick a 60-minute drama, and nobody's playing those in reruns. And it's because nobody wants to see him again. But comedy will play forever. But the flip side of that is, he said, it has to be funny.
It does.
Or
It does.
it doesn't work.
It
So
does.
there's a fine line, and I mean, I think too, also comedy breaks down barriers. It makes people feel comfortable,
Hmm.
and I think that's part of it too. Is there's a certain comfort level that you need to, and Walt knows this really well, that you need to establish at an open mic. Open mics that are intimidating, or any event really that's intimidating, is just not going to be comfortable for people. So they have to feel welcome and comfortable, and not threatened. And I think part of what will disarm people always is just a good chuckle.
It's true.
And that was a valuable lesson for me, that you know you can be deep, and you can be esoteric, and you can be pontificate or whatever, but being funny is going to cut through a lot of, and I mean truly funny,
Yeah.
is going to be being cut through a lot. And then the other thing he said, because Howard Stern was kind of coming up at this point when I was talking to this guy, and he said if you're going to work blue, if you're going to be dirty, you better be really funny, because if you're blue and not funny, you're creepy. And
That is
again,
true.
there is a fine line from dirty funny and creepy. Being the creepy uncle is not kind of what you want to shoot for. So I've never been a huge fan of, being suggestive is one thing, but really working blue is something else.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that he told me, that just makes so much sense, is he said the other thing about that is you have to be a little dirtier every time, because then it stops being provocative and stops being it stops being at some level special.
Yeah.
And you get to a point where, what are you going to do more outrageous than the last thing you did? There's just a certain point you reach where, well, am I going to jump off a building? Am I going to, shoot someone from the stage? I mean, what am I going to do that's more outrageous than the last thing? So those were just good lessons in performance. And then, I went to Emerson College too in Boston, which is a performing arts school.
Yeah.
And people like Stephen Wright were in my class, and
Oh, cool.
Carol Burnett went there, Jay Leno went there. I
Yeah.
mean, that was that type of place. So creatively, I just learned quite a bit about just about performance, basically.
And you're good at that, because that's what I fell in love with you the first night I walked in there. Even though I loved the vibe of the chill room, first time I was there in the open mic, but you cracked me up. And then when we finally performed there a few weeks later, and you called us a virgin, I was like, "What? What just happened? What did he just say?" And I started getting your humor, and I thought, this guy's a comedian. Like, he's amazing. Like, he keeps everybody on their toes, because then I wanted to hear what you said every time you opened your mouth, even
Well,
more than
and
watching the artists on the stage.
and Walt knows this well too, because Walt's done a lot of radio.
Yeah.
And when you do radio, that's, in my case, it was 4 hours a day
Mm.
of live
Yeah.
programming, unscripted live.
Yeah.
So what's happening in your head when you're doing that is you're thinking about 30 seconds ahead of where your mouth is at. And that is a great talent, I think, to develop in it helps you in other areas like hosting something,
Yeah.
and not everybody can do it. It's a really, and, Walt does it well,
Yeah.
but it's not, it's a hard thing to teach.
Yeah. Oh,
I
it
kind of
is.
think either you have it sometimes or you don't.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you and Walt both definitely have it because you know how to read the audience and pay attention, and yeah, that's great.
well,
I
thank you.
love that about you. And then I heard you play and sing, and I thought, well, he does everything.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
you
do
do.
everything.
You do.
I'm
You
going to
do.
get called into surgery any minute now, so
I'll be right there.
right.
Walt, what questions? I know you got questions, Walt. I know you got
I've been
questions.
fearing this all
I
day.
wanted to prep
This
you a little
moment,
bit.
this moment right here.
I do have questions, but I
See,
thought that all the questioning that you were doing, Jamie Ray, we were going to have a different episode to get around to mine. So he would have a two-part
as we used to
interview.
say in Iowa,
But
she can talk the stalk off an
yeah,
ear of corn.
really, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
I got more questions, but I'm going to let Walt ask a few.
Okay. See, that's true. That's a true statement. All right, Glenn, you ready for these?
No.
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Um, when you, I'm going to start with the kind of like the last statement that you made about being live on air and how you're thinking 30 seconds ahead, but you're also thinking about 30,000 things that you might need to do in case something goes wrong with one of the machines. And that time it was just record players and you had to queue them up you had to cue them yourself. You had to learn how to do that without ruining the record.
Yep.
And then you had a stack of records on the side that you're gonna play, and you got to file those things away in between the songs, and then you got to write down what it is you played on a log sheet, and all this is going on in that little 3 or 4 or 5 minute spot that song is on, and then you got to come in as if you've been listening to the song. And you haven't, you're just looking at when it ends and how you're going to get the next one going. You got them turntables sitting there, and then you have the program schedule when the commercials are supposed to go out, when you do the ID, station IDs, and all of that. And that's on the clock. So you can't miss that. And if your song is running into it, you got to fade that puppy out and get in there and say something. This is la 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 la, it's station da da da, and you're listening to the so and so sub show, and hit the next turntable and go right on into that. And then you got to talk about the songs that you played. And I'm serious.
There
It's a
was a
lot
lot.
of
I mean,
work.
there was
It,
and that's not even all of it. I mean,
yeah.
you were also licensed by the FCC. You had to take meter readings,
Yep.
and write it down and sign it that the station was within its legal power and
Yep.
blah 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 blah.
It was a lot.
There was a lot.
So, so now that kind of segued into that way, I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. Let's go second day of your life.
Okay. I
In
remember
the swaddling wrap.
I was in SWAT. I was having a Zweiback, I think, and a cup of coffee.
I wasn't there, so there were no questions asked.
Hey,
Uh,
so okay, this is two part. What was your first and what was your second guitar you ever bought?
oh,
Oh,
geez. The first was hideous. It was I had like a lot of us did back then, and I lived, out in the Boston area, so we had snow and we had lawns, and that was our route to financial freedom
Yep.
at
Yep.
12 years old.
Yep.
If you asked your father for one, you'd get this look like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
there's the lawnmower, you
Yep.
know, get off your behind and
Yep.
go mow some lawns. So I mowed some lawns and I shoveled some driveways and I came up with, I don't know, maybe $50 or something, which took
Yep.
a long time to save. And I
Yep.
went down to a pawn shop in downtown Worcester, Massachusetts, which is, by the way, it's still there. It's amazing. It's called Union Music now. And I bought a Univox guitar,
Hmm.
which was a Japanese, at the time, pretty crappy instrument with the strings a half a mile off the fretboard.
Right.
Um,
oh.
You
but
bought you
it wasn't,
you
and
bought
it made my
you bought
fingers
a
bleed.
bow. You bought a
Yeah,
bow with
I
six
don't need one.
six strings on it.
I should have. But wisely, my parents actually said you should take guitar lessons, and I was like, huh, okay. And there was a music school, and fate sometimes will deal you really interesting cards. And this was very faithful. And not so much then, but when I look back on it, and sometimes you access information that happened a long time ago, and it has much more relevance at a later date than it did right then. So I'm like 13 years old, and as it turns out, the guy who was my guitar teacher was a fairly renowned jazz guitarist. And I walked into his little, I don't know if you remember, those little teaching rooms were like little shoe boxes,
Yeah.
and I walked in there, and there's this guy with a Gretsch New Yorker,
Wow.
and his name was Al Lopez, and he could play. I mean, he could really play. And I had no concept of what really playing was or whatever, but he would lay these beads of wisdom on me, more so than just learning the cowboy chords and whatnot. Yeah, he taught me those. But it was really years later. One of the things that he taught me way back then, and I really had no idea what he was talking about until I started writing songs and seriously, playing on a more serious level. He said, "What's important sometimes is what you don't play as opposed to what you play." And I kind of didn't have a concept of what he was talking about until years later and thought back on that. And what he was really talking about was the whole concept of letting a song breathe. You don't have to fill every moment, with an Eddie Van Halen lead or something like that. You can let a song have some air. And it really helps. So it was kind of like tidbits like that, I think, really helped me along the way. And that was the first guitar where I walked in there with that. And my second guitar was a much better guitar. It was an Epiphone, acoustic guitar, and man, the difference was night and day. But I was a somewhat better player at that point anyway.
Hmm.
But if you could survive that first guitar,
Oh yeah, you were in. That was the initiation.
I
Yeah.
mean, and almost everybody I know, I'm probably the same with you, Walt, and I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if you played guitar back then, Jamie Ray, but they were I mean, generally your first
Uh,
guitar back then was hideous.
yeah. 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 That was boot camp, and if you didn't make it through that, you
They
weren't going to
definitely
play
didn't
guitar
sound
at
good.
all.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
So,
No, they did not sound good.
so the I'm going to wrap a few questions into this for time's sake. I came over to your place, sitting there at the desk that you were at, and you were showing me how to set up the whole recording aspect of recording into a computer. But hanging on the wall was all of your awards that you've won from in the music industry. So I wanted you, and a picture of you playing lead guitar in a band, and then you graciously allowed me to be able to hear some of your music. So these questions go into all of this, and so I wanted you to talk about your band, and I wanted you to name the awards that you won with in the music industry, and wanted to know where can we find that music today.
Okay, good questions. As far as the music industry stuff and the band, I was with a band for about 35 years, and it was a show band. And we were a cover band, but we were a good cover band. And we had a three-piece horn section, and anywhere from, I don't know, 12 to 15 people sometimes. I mean, it was big. And the guy that kind of put the band together was one of my mentors. He was a drummer, and he was insane, but he was one of these guys that was insane, but there's that borderline insanity genius thing. And he had an amazing knack for promotion. And again, if you keep your antennas up, you can, and you absorb some stuff, you can learn an awful lot from the people around you. And he told me something I never forgot, which was, Glenn, as far as gigs go, you can take a gig and you can try to build an audience. And that's expensive and that's a lot of work. It's advertising, it's this, that, and the other thing. He said, but you can also go somewhere where the people are already there and play. And there'll be a ton of people there. And that's a lot less work and can be a lot more profitable, both emotionally and financially. So he was very good at picking the right gigs, which were gigs that already had people. State fairs. We didn't really play anything tiny just because. So when we went out, we made a fair amount of money, and we played in front of a lot of people, and opened a lot of times for some real quality acts like ZZ Top, and we opened for the Gin Blossoms early on, and just a lot of different bands, and the good and bad of being in a band like that is you get very good at playing what you play, but you do not vary outside the lines because you can't. You'll screw up the other 10 people in the band if you say, well, if I just drop in a lead here, that'd be kind of fun. This is the look you get from the bass player. We all know this look. The look is like, what the F are you doing? And it just so you don't do it. And that's the limiting part of it. The beautiful part of it is you go, you play well, you really do a nice job on these songs. People have a great time. They're partying. It's wonderful. But from a creative standpoint, you just don't stretch a whole ton because you can't. So I think in that phase, kind of my own development maybe was stunted somewhat, but I had a great time. And I think for what we were playing, I learned how to play it well. And I was pretty much an electric guitar player at that point, which was fine. But I also always thought about, well, man, it would be nice to be able to just kind of write my own stuff and do some of the stuff. But I was always dealing with other people's music, and through that whole radio thing, and then I had another really lucky kind of break in that in the radio world, I sensed that there was a change musically coming. And this would have been like the mid 90s and through there somewhere. And I recognized that nobody's playing this body of music because it's dangerous. And then I thought back to my days in 1972 when the discussion was the same. Steppenwolf. Ooh. They did a half-hour song about, someone pushing heroin, the pusher. Great song, but no one would play it. Because they were afraid of it. And stuff that we consider to be relatively tame, not bad music, but tame, like Jimi Hendrix. No one would play that. You kidding? This guy's playing the Star Spangled Banner, lighting his freaking guitar on fire. I mean, no one would play it. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole until the greater society, became enamored with it, and the younger people generally drive those trends because they want to listen to what their parents listen to. If your parents say, don't listen to this, the first thing you're going to do is listen to it and embrace it. So the same thing was happening in the mid-90s. You had these bands out there like Metallica, like Megadeth, like Seven Dust and Mudvayne and Korn, and on it went. And I was and I was in Madison, Wisconsin at the time. Madison, and Walt knows this because he spent some time in Madison. Madison is a great musical community. It's one of these bellwether kind of musical towns. And in Madison just happened to be a place called Smart Studios. Smart Studios is where this no one had ever heard of band called Nirvana was recording their first album at the time with a guy by the name of Butch Vig. Butch Vig is a producer from Madison, owns Smart Studios, and fell in with these guys from Nirvana, and then formed his own band called Garbage. You may have heard of them, and went on to do some great things. But while all that was going on, we had this radio station that was basically failing, doing nothing. And I said to my partners at the time, I said, let's put this music on the air. And they said, you are out of your freaking mind because no one will buy it. And I said, I disagree. I said, I think they'll buy anything if the numbers are there. And I said, the numbers are definitely going to be there. So we took the station that was dead last in the ratings, put all this music on there, Korn, Seven Dust, Metallica, Megadeth. And the station literally blew up. It went crazy. It went from dead last in the market to number one, the number one rated radio station in the market. And that led to some of those awards on the wall because it led to a format in radio called active rock, which is that stuff. And that format is still around today, but it's, radio is what radio is right now. Maybe the world has passed it by to some extent, at least in that way. And through that wall, I also got to, because we were early on all these bands and we're on the forefront, and Smart Studios was in the town and all this stuff, the record labels started using us as a conduit for breaking these bands to a wider audience. And I got to know a lot of them on a personal level, and started working with some of them in how to make their songs more palatable to a mass audience. Because I would always have the discussion with them. They said, we want to be big, and I said, well, if you want to be big, you got to get rid of the four F-bombs that are in the front end of your song. It's just not going to get played. I don't know what else to tell you. But my advice is, if you're going into the commercial world, you're going to have to make compromises. And if you're unwilling to make those compromises, that's fine. Play it for your girlfriend in your bedroom or whatever. But when you're talking about Walmart and people laying their money down in Walmart, you're playing in a different stadium at that point. And the ones that were willing to listen at that level, because we're just talking about commercialism now, not talking about anybody's art or anything. We're talking about people paying money for music. And that is you get into retail, and you get into what Walmart's going to put in their racks, and you get into what Best Buy is going to put in their racks, and it's a very different thing. So I worked with a lot of bands on that level, and on their songs as they were thinking about how to release them to a wider audience. And the record labels at that time, it operated a lot like the Super Bowl, that if a record that you worked on went gold, which is 500,000 copies, or platinum, which is 1 million, or multi-platinum, which is several millions, you got a gold record too. And that's where some of those came from, Walt, was the work that I did with some of those bands as they were breaking. It's kind of like being the water boy on the Super Bowl team, that they get the Super Bowl ring too. So this water boy got those Super Bowl rings
Well,
that way.
your life is a life of, I guess Dylan would say, a simple twist of fate, where you've always been in the right place at the right time, asking the right questions.
Except for now.
Well, that was going to be my last question. That was going to be my last question. Um, it was like, actually, it's twofold. Um, what is your goal in life at this part in your life? And can you talk about love in your life?
I think my goal, and even when I was chasing, quote unquote, chasing the dream, much in a much different way than I am now, has always been leave it better than you found it. And if I can accomplish that, I've accomplished something. That the world is this way right now, and maybe the world is just a very slightly better place because of something I've done or something I've said or made someone feel something at a particular time, whether it's via a radio show or music or on a personal level. That's really my goal, and that hasn't changed, at all. But I think one of the things that happened when I decided to get out of the workaday world where I was doing this strictly, not strictly, but for the most part as a way to put bread on the table, take care of my family and whatever, and being incredibly fortunate to never a day since I'm 14 years old walking into the office and saying, God, I hate what I do. And I watched my dad do that for 55 years.
Yeah.
And I said I never wanna we there are so many people that have to do that, that I've never taken that for granted, and I've never not counted that as an amazing blessing.
Hmm.
And on the love end of things, I think if you love what you do and you love the people you're doing it with, that comes back to you. And I'm just a big believer in some kind of a karmic confluence that happens. That love is energy in some form, and once it's out there, it never disappears. It's out there, and the more you kind of put out there, the more I think will come back to you, in all kinds of different ways. And some of them I think you're going to recognize, and maybe some of them you won't. But for me, music in any form, really, whether it was on the radio, and I've always been close to it, which is, again, I just feel totally blessed to have been able to do that kind of thing and still do it. Is taking advantage of all that good cheer and all that feel good stuff. And it's not that every day was rainbows and unicorns, but by and large, being able to to be surrounded by that kind of love, has been indescribable, really.
Yeah.
Awesome. 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 Well, Glenn, I want to thank you and for aligning with the idea when I talked about this podcast and and your knowledge of radio and my experience with it as well, and following through with putting it together. And I also want to thank you for your friendship, and I want to thank you for all that you do for the music community here, and all of the open mic nights that you run. You got about what, 30 of them? How
A
many
day.
open?
That's it.
So talk about all of the open mic nights that you have real quick and where they are.
Well, there's the Arizona Live Music Cooperative, which is a nonprofit, and that's Monday nights at Enchiladas, and I formed that with Cowboy Rex to basically give people a similar experience, well, to what you're doing down in Tempe, where limit the distraction as much as possible, not have TVs over people's heads, and giving them a non-threatening, welcoming place to play, basically. And for many people, you know what? That's going to be the pinnacle of their playing experience. They didn't get to do the shows and all that, and they might not. and that's fine. But I want to make that experience for them as impactful as those other things have been for maybe the three of us. Tuesday nights I do North Mountain Brewing Company, and again that's in a separate side room, which because I'm just not interested in kind of the typical bar thing at this stage of the game. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just not where my head is at these days. And then I was really thrilled to, and this was via you, Walter, of getting the chill room up and running on Friday nights, and that has been really, that was a total labor of love. You talk about love. In watching that thing just blossom and go and stand on its own 2 feet, and then after 2 years, over that was maybe a month or two ago, I just handed it over to Joshua, who's doing a really nice job down there.
He's doing a great job, and you know what? It opens the door for this invitation. Uh, you should come in there and maybe just part of the night be just like a guest host. You don't have to stay the whole night, but if you're in the vicinity, announce the acts while he runs the sound and all of that.
Oh, I
Uh,
definitely will. I don't want to be a stranger down there, but after taking 2 years of every Friday night, um, there was just a little bit of pent up demand, and I owed some people some Friday night shows and whatnot. But that's, they're already sick of me at this point. So, so yes,
that didn't take long.
oh no, didn't take any time at all, really. Uh,
Like I said,
so
where's the love in your life?
you find out quickly where it is. When you can't do something for someone else,
Oh man.
the love can get sparse. But no, I'm definitely gonna. I'm planning actually on stopping out there. We're recording this show on Thursday, the 6th of November, and on the 8th, which is Friday night, the Chill Room's doing their second anniversary bash, and I'm planning on stopping by. It's going to be on the late side because I got something right in front of that, but I'm gonna stop by and
Okay.
give them
Cool.
Cool.
some crap.
We would love to see you in
Yeah.
there. I just
Well,
want to
Definitely.
say one thing real quick to you, Glenn. I just, well, Walt too, both of you, but Glenn, I didn't really know you, and I think I kind of forced myself into your bubble because I just was drawn to you. You're so cool, and I loved seeing you at the Friday night open mics and getting to know you more. And I appreciate you taking the time to share your heart and experience today and answer my questions. And I love being in your presence because I learn something from you every day.
well,
And
that's very kind of you to say, Jamie Ray, and I tolerate you.
I know you do. I know you both do. And I appreciate you asking me to be part of this, whatever we're doing
You
here on
can.
the Desert Vibe.
I love doing this with you guys, and
It's
and
fun.
I
it's
love
it's
it.
just this is really really fun and relaxed, and people are responding to it, which is great.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate having the opportunity just to to make. By the way, none of what I told you today is true.
Well, we knew that,
Um,
but you're not supposed to tell the world that.
Right.
We're trying to get a show going here, Glenn.
yeah.
True.
They
True.
don't need
The,
to know
the
it's
only the only
scripted.
work I ever did actually involved saying paper or plastic. Was
I
And
think
you,
there's a lot more we can find out about you. I'm
yeah.
sure if we had another time to interview you, we could go on with this. And nobody needs to know it's scripted, so quit telling them that.
yeah.
You know. Um, so I just wanted to just kind of say in closing here, I want thank you so very much for being the wonderful person that you are, and and Jamie, thank you for being on this team. I want to thank all of our friends that are jumping on board to you know catch these conversations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But before we wrap it up, let's talk about real quick of what's happening around in the valley because this is a part of the show where uh, all the gloves are off. We're no more nice guy stuff. Thank you,
This
Glenn.
is
Thank
real
you, thank you.
stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, Glenn.
You can leave the
Thanks
room
for
now.
coming. Thanks for coming. There he goes. Thank you.
Oh
Well, we
my
can
God.
take over now.
Okay. Uh, Jamie Ray, what's going on in your area over there?
Live, loud, and local. We've
Yep.
got 520 has an events coming up November 15th at the Arizona Talio Ranch. I hope I said that right. It's formerly the Canyon Moon Ranch, and they're hosting Boots, Brews, and Barbecue. There's going to be lots of music, lots of food. Mark Stone will be there starting the night, or the day. It's during the day, 1:30. Mark Stone starts. Then Straight Country. Donnie Grubb Band will be there, and they're closing with the Western Fusion Band. It's all country, a lot of fun. There's still tickets available, so get those because it's going to be a lot of fun. I know there's a lot more going on. So much is going on now coming up with the holidays and everything. And of course, I got to plug the Blindsiders. We're playing tomorrow. Our duo's playing tomorrow at the Windmill Winery. They have music all the time also. Great venue. We'll be there tomorrow night from 6 to 9, Salt and Barrett and I. And then the Blindsiders are playing with you too, Walt. You're playing too at the anniversary party, the second anniversary party at the Chill Room
Yep.
in
Yep.
Tempe, Arizona.
Yep.
So that's going to be going all day, 2 o'clock to 2 a.m. So hopefully we see everybody there. I know that's in Tempe. That's out of my wheelhouse here, but we're going to be there, so I want to plug that. And everything's going on out here. We've got something every weekend out here in this part of the valley, and I look forward to seeing people come out here. I want to get more people to come see us on this side, but tell us what's going on your side of the world, Walt.
Over here in Tempe, which is like the hub of the
It
whole
is.
Phoenix area, it's still an undiscovered gem in terms of what happens in Arizona. And so we have on the weekend coming up, we have the second anniversary of the Chill Room. Lots of bands on that show, myself included, Blindsiders. And then Sal has his original band
Yes, I'm
that he had put
excited.
together before he went into the tribute band route. And Sal is one of the owners he is the owner,
Yeah.
their family, the owner of the Chill Room. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. They've got a permit where they can set up the chairs and put some speakers outside so that the doors will be open all day. It's going to be two stages out there. And just come on out and enjoy. That's going on. Also, there is a concert at the Tempe Center for the Arts on the 20th of November, which it's called 48 Live Series, and the TCA features different bands, different artists in this series. It's a once a month kind of event, and we are the featured people. My band, Walton Friends. So that's going to be a lot of fun. My brother Levi is flying in from San Diego to come in and be a part of it. And I just want to say that next weekend on let me make sure I got the right date here. I believe it is the 15th. It might be the 15th. I have to double check it at the MIM, Musical Instrument Museum. They are celebrating 50 years of the Roberto Venn School of Luthery. So
Cool.
you can look up all that information. But the School of Luthery started with William Eaton, and he is going to be our guest on the show on that Thursday. So we're excited about having him be a part of this whole thing, and he can explain exactly what's going to be playing at the MIM. But they're flying luthiers, famous luthiers that have studied at the school over the last 50 years that are still living, are flying in and bringing brands of their guitars that are world famous. And various local artists and national artists are going to be playing on some of those instruments, playing a couple of songs during a performance there at the MIM. And myself and Hannes were selected to pick and play a guitar, and so all of that's going to be happening as well. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and there's more. Um, but we need to hear what's happening from Glenn's side of
But I
town.
have one question for you. That November 20th show at TCA that you've got, you didn't, is Lily going to be there?
Can you mute the mic? Can you mute other people's
Oh,
mics
I
on
can.
things? Can you mute her? I tell
Done.
you what, not only mute her, can you take her out of that picture so there's
Hell
just two
yeah.
frames of you? But to answer her question, yes, Lily will be there. Okay. Just so that people don't get mad at me because I didn't answer the question, especially Lily. I don't want her mad at me.
No, we don't want that.
Not that I'm really worried about it, but yeah, just for sake.
Eh.
Thanks, Jamie
Yeah, and
Ray.
they've actually too
Thank you.
they've changed the name of that show on the 20th to Walt and People That Can Still Stand Him.
Yeah,
I thought it was,
still stand up.
I heard it was Lily Richardson and friends. That's what I heard. That's why I bought
And
my
one
ticket.
family member
And one family member.
who still
And
talks to
some
me.
guy from Tempe.
Yeah, yeah,
What's going
That's going
on,
to be a
Glenn?
great. That's going to be
yeah.
a great show.
It is going to be a great show.
Dovetailing with what Walt said on the MIM thing, because the MIM actually, for those who haven't been up there, it's at Tatum and Union Hills, so it's far north Phoenix. Awesome, awesome place. But I just happen to have two of the Ven guitars, and I was down there not that long ago, and I had come across this 12 string. You guys who know me know that I spend some time studying guitars and I work on guitars sometimes. And I saw this guitar advertised online, and I knew just by looking at it, it was advertised as a no-name guitar. Guitars do not have a name in it, but I could tell just by looking at it in a picture. I said, that's a Roberto Venn guitar. There's no doubt in my mind. It's an older one too. So I go down to this place. It's like Sanford and Son, literally. The guitar is outside. It's not even, it's outside.
Whoa,
Yeah,
really?
and I look at it, but I said, this is the real deal here. So I had another one that I just picked up in a pawn shop, and this one I bought, and then went to work on it, but actually brought it down there, and they want to display this 12 string guitar
Oh, wow.
at their thing at the MIM later in November. So
Cool.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to William being here next week because he is just on top of being an incredible musician, and he's like a harp guitar guy.
Yeah.
He's also a very very nice man. So that'll be fun next week. So make sure you tune in next week for that. So that is happening, and there's a lot happening around that. On the 8th, on Saturday the 8th, which is again a couple of days away from when we're recording this show, the Honeybee Festival is happening up at Paradise Valley Community College, and that just celebrates the bee and the importance of the bee, doing things like eating.
Can I put an old man joke in?
Please,
To be or not to be? Okay, I feel
that
better.
is the
Ooh, had to
question.
get that out.
It's
He's
fine.
killing me. Okay.
For those of you who don't know, that is Shakespeare. Walt knew him. It's crazy. I mean, Walt was graduating high school
Walt was in one of his
when he wrote that
plays.
line. It was incredible. To be
Walt was,
or not to be that. But to be, we want to be as opposed to being a don't be. You can be a do be or a
See
don't
what
be.
see what I started.
Yeah. You want to be a do be.
you're never getting out of here now.
Do you have a doobie?
No, not anymore.
You guys, this is supposed to be a family
I'm
show.
past that
Who knows,
stage.
who knows what a
Really well
doobie is
past that
anymore?
stage.
That's old school.
That is old
Oh,
school.
then I'm old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of music happening down there. I'm going to be playing there, and the showcase at North Mountain Brewery is every Saturday. Planning is already underway. We talk about other parts of Arizona as well for two big festivals. Well, three that are happening. One of them is the Flagstaff Festival that happens in June, and they're just getting the wheels turning on that. And that's a lovely, lovely folk festival. If you've never been up there, it's at a really nice fairgrounds. It's 30 degrees cooler than it is down here in the valley, which is always nice. And Tucson is also planning for Tucson is underway. That is a kind of a juried festival where you have to apply, and somebody has to anoint you. They have like a pope, person that wears a big hat. It says yes you, no you. But planning is underway for that one. That's in April. That's a nice festival. And then Glendale is happening in, I believe, the last day of February, February 28th, and March 1st. And planning is underway for that. And Levine, of course, is coming up on the 22nd of November, always the Saturday in front of Thanksgiving. And I believe that's full, but they are adding names on a waiting list. They added a stage this year. So there was so much going on musically in Arizona this time of the year. It's really wonderful. So that's all good. And that's kind of about that. That's what's happening here in my part of the world.
You know what? I think we need to rethink having Jamie Ray on
You
this.
see how fleeting success is?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
there.
If anybody doesn't know who that woman is in there, that's my sister
Lily!
Lily, that everybody's
Yeah.
been talking about.
She's a very nice person.
Yeah, she is. She's
She
awesome.
is. She's
Yeah.
lovely.
Myself, my brother, right up after me, and Lily, we were the three oldest in the family. We were the gang. We cut up hard, and then I left the house when I graduated, and I passed that baton on to the two of them. And they fought over it for a while, but then, they worked things out. We always do.
I don't know.
Now we got to get Lily on as a guest.
Hey,
Yeah,
we can do that.
Yeah, she's definitely in favor of that.
Yeah.
I've spoken to her about it. She
Maybe we
she
can get her
kind
as
of
a host and get rid of Walt. That'd be
well,
even
don't
better.
start that. Yeah, don't start that argument, because she did ask if she could be a host.
See?
And
And
so
the answer is yes. But I don't know if
the
you've
answer is
read
what?
you've
The
read
answer is
our
what?
rules,
The answer is
but
what?
there can only be one family member per family as a host. That was written right into the Articles
Bylaws
of
and the
Incorporation. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'll tell you what. She wanted to be on the week you all were interviewing me, and I barred that one because Lily liked to dig too deep into stuff. We don't need,
Oh,
people don't need to know all
You
what.
know, I questioned Lily the night before your interview.
give me some Walt dirt,
Okay.
Lily.
Okay. Now that we got all this out.
Whoops, I guess we gotta go.
Time to get, yep, it's past time.
Oh boy.
Yeah, look at the
Wow.
time.
Time flies when you're being tortured, doesn't it?
This is our sound check for the Desert Vibe this week.
I'm Glen Gardner.
I'm Walt Richardson.
I'm Jamie Ray.
This is the Desert Vibe.
Take
Be
care.
good.
Be good.
Peace.